سيدنا محمد سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everybody, and welcome for joining us for this session of our Tawhid class conducted by our Ustad, the Salie Manie.
Ek sal nie so mooi weet van die Ustad nie, ons leer maar almal van mekaar. But shukran for that introduction. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa ashabi wa barik wa sallim. I thought it would be important to just quickly show us what we've done without going into any detail, so that when we do deal with the next sifat, that we know what it is part of. Otherwise, we start losing the context. So I'm just going to flash it up quickly. We said it is, there are 5 negating sifat, those things that never apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those things are beginning, end. Allah's unlike anything, there's no similarity. Allah has no need or dependence on anything, and Allah is only one. So these, the last one we must still do, and inshallah we hope to do that now. But just so that we can understand, once we've dealt with this last one, which is Ahad or Wahdaniyah, then we will have done with the negating sifat, and then we'll go over to the next group or the next category, inshallah. So I will immediately then go over to zal weer ek in technology oh no, let me just get back here to this one. Sure. Ek weet nie waar as ek nou, oh hier sit nou. Subhanallah. All right. I think I am where I want to be now. So we said it's Wahdaniyah. Is that up now?
I think it's up, Imam Mutawali.
Okay, great. All right, shukran. So,
no, nothing is up.
Is nothing up? Sure. Die ding voel toch so man oud raak as dit swaar hoor. Baie swaar. Is it up now, no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, I was going to scroll through it, but I'll have to put them all up. I'll stop in between and I will take clarifications or comments as we move through. So when we speak about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been through the concept that Allah is, when we say one, we are not referring to one as part of a number of others. Like number 1 is part of the number system, or it is not one amongst many. This oneness is absolute uniqueness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one in the sense that there is nothing that ever compares or resembles Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his essence. Now, the second point around this is also that the oneness is that when we refer to the one who created this entire universe, then we are talking about the Supreme Being, the one who is in charge of everything, who created everything. And we say that that divine being has no partner. Now, and when we can come back to that one, when we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no partner, unlike some people who believe there's a God of thunder, there's a God of rain, there's a God of the sun, there's a God of, they have many gods, and then you have one God on top. Sometimes there isn't even another God on top of the other gods, but you have all these different gods, each one being responsible for a particular function or purpose in the way that they believe. Our belief is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the completely independent, without any partner, and has total control. If we take, for example, Christianity, in Christianity, there's the concept of the Trinity. Now, without having a go at Christianity, but it is very difficult to logically explain that there can be a son of the God, but yet the son is also the God. Then who came first in a case like this? Did the son come first, or did the father come first? Now, if the father came first before the son, was God complete? The son wasn't there yet. Can one say that is God? Because the concept is God is made up of three entities, Trinity. Now, if you look at that, and you take what our concept is, then nothing ever can be compared or associated as a partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely unique on his own, without anything else having to be there. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before creation, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created anything whatsoever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was completely on his own and in need of nothing. And the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was before creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is and will forever be, because nothing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever changes. Now, before I go on to maybe the next part that deals with how do we then understand the essence and the data of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sifat and the names, when we talk about the oneness. Before I touch on that one, can I just hear if there are any questions or comments that anyone wish to make at this stage before we go on to the next part?
With the Salie,
yes,
we say Allah is one in his Dhat, in his Sifat, in his Af'al, in his action. Now, how would one explain to someone that Allah has Malaa'ikahs, like Malaa'ikah Jibreel, Malaa'ikah Mikael,
Israfil and Amali
Rafil, the Malaikat Maut, and you know, Allah is one in His actions, but yet there is Malaikats that's performing different functions.
Okay.
How would one explain that?
Okay. Shukran for the question, Imam. Firstly, we must understand when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in His actions, that we are not referring that there is only one action. When we say Allah is one in His actions, it means nothing else stands next to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being able to perform that action, whatever that action might be. Anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performs, or any action that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's none other. So it's one in that sense. Nothing comes close to it. But when we talk about, for example, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the Malaa'ikah to perform certain functions, one could even extend that to say the same would apply to the prophets. They are also used, and for that matter, the Quran. You see, the means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses for a particular purpose is a created thing. The Malaa'ikah is created, and it has got nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that its existence, the existence of the Malaa'ikah, depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creating it. That's the link. So it becomes one of the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its creation, and then how Allah wants to use it is up to Allah. But the Malaa'ikah should never ever be confused as an extension of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created remains forever part of creation. It never goes beyond that station or that state of being created by the Creator. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remains forever the Creator, and the Malaa'ikah and everything else remains forever part of creation, obviously with its own specific function. I don't know, Imam.
Shukran for that, Salie.
Okay.
No, I'm asking the question so that others could also.
Of course, no.
Yeah.
That's precisely why it's good that you ask the question. Even if it's only for me to elaborate on something that you understand, but you think somebody else might benefit, then please, anyone would be welcome to put the question.
Inshallah.
Now, when we refer to the oneness of the essence, the Dhat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're also referring to the oneness of the attributes, the names, and the actions. Now it becomes a bit tricky and difficult to follow. Let's deal with one part. There's more than one aspect to this, but let's deal with the first part, which is something that Imam Hussein touched on, and that is none of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, well, let's say the essence. We know Allah is the one, nothing compares with Allah, there's no partner to Allah, so we accept that oneness, that we can almost easily accept. But when we say the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the names, I'll speak about the actions a little bit later, but let me just deal with the names and the attributes now. We can, for example, say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-seeing. It's both a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and an attribute. Is that one? Is Allah the only one who is that can be attributed with seeing? We as human beings can see, animals can see. How do we then understand the concept of the oneness of the attributes and the names? Anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything. It doesn't matter what you are talking about, but when you talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing in creation ever, under any circumstances, compares with that particular aspect that you are referring to about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether it is the name or an action or the essence or an attribute, anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing ever compares with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala insofar as that is concerned. I hope this point is clear before I even move on to the next one. Because the thing about the uniqueness of the names, the attributes, the actions, and the essence, there's a next level that we should go to, but the fact that it is utterly perfect means that nothing about Allah subhanahu, anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be compared to creation, and therefore, no matter what we do, you can't alter that already perfect state of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we say all seeing or all hearing, there's nothing ever possible that Allah cannot see. It doesn't matter what we are referring to. So with respect to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let me just find out, as far as that point is concerned, whether there's any further comment or question that anyone wish to raise there.
Yes, Peter Salie.
Yes.
Am I correct? Am I correct when I say the oneness, in the oneness of Allah, the essence, the Dhat, the Af'al, you cannot separate those four things from the oneness of Allah?
Yes.
You cannot separate the name, the actions, the attributes from the Dhat of Allah.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Now, when you say one cannot separate it, the essence is that. Now the question can come, and if as ons nou nader na mekaar gesit het, I would have put the question to one of you, especially to you, Farid. I would have put the question. Is the essence the same as is the essence, the Dhat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same as his attributes? If I were to ask, is the Dhat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same as the attributes or the names, or for that matter, even the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is the Dhat the same as that? Now I'm asking the question. Anyone can answer it. Do you know why it's so difficult to answer the question? Because the answer is both almost yes and no. Because the answer is that the essence and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on its own is not Allah. You can't say the attribute is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you can say Allah has that attribute. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. Or let me use an example. The example that I've quoted here. The tree is green. Anyone looks at the tree is green. Green is an attribute of the tree. It's the way we describe the tree. It's something about the tree that we describe. It is green. But can we say green is the tree? No. You can't say green is the tree. Green is something that stands on its own. But when we talk about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are so unique and so, they belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a way that it cannot be separated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we say that they are the sifat and the names and the actions are not Allah, but they are not other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When we say generally, what is other than Allah? It's a concept that's used in some of the more advanced literature in Tasawwuf, when they refer to other than Allah. Other than Allah is that which is not Allah. And that which is not Allah must be creation. If it's not Allah, then it must be created by Allah. It's fairly easy to understand like that. If it's not Allah, then it must be created by Allah. It must be creation. Therefore, when we say the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are descriptions of Allah, they are not Allah itself. They describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah's qualities are such that nothing else compares with it. So although it is not Allah, it is not other than Allah. So in other words, it's the sifat is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's not creation. It belongs to Allah. It's something in the way that we describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, it said I've had the warning coming up. So I wonder if I should just conclude on that note, and then we log back in, and then we pause on this, and then we can engage on this whole issue about wahdaniyah, if that's okay. Imam?
Okay, okay.
So if everybody agrees, I'm going to end the meeting now, and I will ask you just to log back in, and we will continue the next part, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.